I'm originally from Iceland, and DJ in Icelandic is platurn, and if you were to translate it directly, it would be platurn. So anyway, I was real high one night and I just came up with it. And platurn, pronounced like Saturn, some relationship, connotation to the planet Saturn. My series of mixtapes, I usually call them Rings of Platurn, Rings of Saturn, whatever. All kinds of little leeways into the name, but it's cool. It's really original, and I like the name a lot. I like the fact that I gave it to myself, and I don't like the fact that MCs at clubs usually fuck up my name pretty bad and come up with the most ridiculous stuff you can imagine.
What they call you?
Platter. Platurn was actually the worst one I ever got. Some dude called me Platurn. And whatever, DJ Platter, that's like the stupidest DJ name. Yeah. That was fun. I've been listening to hip hop since 1986. That was the first year that I really got into it, and that was the year that Run DMC's Raising Hell came out, and that was the first hip hop album that I ever got. And actually, my dad bought me that tape. It's kind of cool. And I remember I got Beastie Boys, the first Beastie Boys album, that year too. And my dad bought me that one. I was pretty borderline for a parent to buy their kid. I remember I used to peep DJs all the time and was way into it. And I never thought about it. I never gave it much thought. I remember the first DJs that I would ever go peep at parties. I would just stand there, like the whole party, you know, whatever, socialize a little bit and get my little perv on or whatnot. But I would stand there for hours and just watch these DJs and try and figure out what the hell it was they were doing. Because when I first got into it, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anybody that I knew that DJ'd. I didn't have anybody show me anything or tell me anything. I basically just learned it all on my own. I used to make tapes, pause tapes for people all the time. I would go out and buy lots of music on CDs and tapes, and would make tapes for people all the time. And I just got tired of the pause between the songs. And I didn't like that. I just thought it sounded too much like listening to an album. So basically all I wanted was to get some equipment so I can fade from one song to the next like they do on the radio. And that was the initial idea. chance, recorded live at the Abbey and I don't know, something. Sounds pretty fresh though. My style and what my crew represents is you gotta be versatile and you gotta know how to do everything. You know, you go out, you get the knowledge on the music, you dig for breaks, you know, you dig for old school hip hop. You gotta know how to mix, and I mean, there's a whole art form in mixing also on top of that. I used to have doubts. I remember, like the mindset that I used to have, especially with the equipment that I had back in the day, that it's actually possible to get to a level where you can't do anymore. But I don't feel that way anymore, because there's so much vinyl out there, and there's so many incredible things that you can do with just a mixer and 2 turntables. I mean, I consider myself a DJ because I feel like I represent every aspect of DJing. Like I dig for breaks, for old school breaks, like old school samples, funk, jazz, and soul and rock and all that stuff. Plus like a lot of obscure stuff. And then I know how to rock a party. I know what it takes to get a crowd moving. So, you know, you have your party DJs there, your club DJs. And, you know, you got your... Well, that's basically what it gets broken down to. It gets broken down to the club DJs who play everybody else's records and just play records. You know, they basically just sound like the radio. And then there's DJs who fuck it up. You know, if you're gonna be a battle DJ and you wanna be consistent and smooth with what you do in your battling and your sets, you still have to understand, you know, the dynamics of how a hip hop beat works in order to go from one thing to the next. You know, if you don't know how a hip hop beat works, like you can bob your head to it, but you know, eventually, like, or what it really comes down to is if you're gonna fuck around with 2 copies of the same record, or if you're gonna scratch over a beat, you have to understand how it works. What is it? What is it? If you're a DJ coming into the game nowadays, it's important that you learn your history and that you get all your fundamentals down. And the number one thing that you do before anything, before having any kind of attitude about DJing, is that you give respect to the people who brought it here in the first place. Because obviously you would never get an opportunity to do it unless they did it for the first time. And that you get your fundamentals down, that you learn how to mix, you learn all the simple scratches. You don't just get on some turntables and just start scratching crazy and think you're going to be the next Kubert or something, or whatever. You know, you gotta educate yourself, just like with anything. You know, if you're going to take something seriously, and if you're going to take DJing seriously, you have to educate yourself. Gotta get the knowledge. Word.
That